All right, back at it Friday, May 25th. Sportsbit betting insight today. Pauly and Teddy, SBRpicks.com. I'm at Real Sportsbit. He's at Teddy_covers. Game 6 tonight. Cavs at home against the Celtics, laying 7. And we'll touch on Game 6 as well with the Rockets and the Warriors. Team previews continue. Finish out the NFC North with the Steelers. Could be the team to beat in the AFC. Who knows? We'll kick around that, turn on the shot clock as well. Games of the year released yesterday, college football at the South Point, over 60 games. They took over $100,000 in bets. We'll go over that coming up. I can't believe it. The Rockets win again, but it's how they won the game. 13 of 43 from 3. Harden was 5 of 21. Harden and Paul couldn't do anything in the first half. The supporting cast played well. Eric Gordon made some big threes. And another low-scoring game, well under the total. Rockets lead the series 3-2. Adjusted series price, Golden State still favored. They're laying 10.5 in Game 6. And the bad news with Chris Paul with the hammy, who knows his status for Game 6? And if they even play him, because you want him 100% or close to for Game 7 Monday night.
And remember, there's no rest for the weary for either one of these squads. It's one game, one day on, one day off, one day on, one day off. So it's not like Chris Paul's going to get any extra time in between now and tip-off on Saturday and or tip-off on Monday, should this series go to 7 games. But it was almost like a replay. Game 4 had all the runs. Game 5, the similar defensive struggle feel. The pace wasn't there. The offensive execution wasn't there. And look, you talked about Houston winning the game despite more than their fair share of offensive miscues. I mean, Golden State, second straight game where they lost a turnover battle. Second straight game where they've been outshot from three-point range. Second straight game where they were outshot from the free throw line. Hard to win close games when you're losing those categories. And, of course, Golden State, they had ample chances to take over that game in the fourth quarter. They just didn't hit any shots. And let's give the Rockets some credit for taking Golden State completely out of their offensive game plan. You watch the Warriors the last 2 fourth quarters, not a recognizable team from the squad that we saw for most of the regular season.
And they're essentially playing 4-on-5 on offense because Bell or Looney can't score. Now, also, you figure to get Iguodala back in Game 6 as well. How about 17 points in the first quarter? That means the fourth quarter and the first quarter, they scored essentially 29 points and a half because they had 12 points in the fourth quarter of Game 4, and they closed out with 22 points in the fourth quarter last night. It'd be nice if Curry and Durant could actually take a shot with the game on the line. You know, Thompson throwing up an air ball. I mean, come on, draw something up here.
Well, the shot that made me nuts was Quinn Cook. You know, when you're down by 2 and you're jacking up a 3 in the closing seconds, or no, we're not even in the closing seconds at that point. There was still like 30 seconds left. He hits a 3 there. Anybody hits a 3 there. It's a whole different home stretch of that ball game. Cook missed the shot, and I'm telling you, you're Steve Kerr, you're Mike D'Antoni. Yeah, I'll Cook. You can take all those shots you want, but look, Curry missed a layup. Durant missed. It wasn't like Cook was the only guy. Bottom line is, right now, Warriors offense is broken. That's going to be a problem considering they're laying 10.5 in game number 6. But you talked about the Chris Paul injury. Let me get the quote from Mike D'Antoni. He's got to go in for an MRI today. He said his hamstring was, quote, really sore and that he had felt, quote, a twinge after landing on a jumper. D'Antoni's quote, "We'll see. Obviously, you saw him limp off and he's a tough guy. Well, his spirits aren't great for sure. He's worried." And all that. From early indications, certainly the betting market doesn't sound particularly optimistic about Chris Paul being anywhere near 100% on Saturday, if he plays at all.
Think about it, Game 7. You get Iguodala back. Paul's maybe 60%, and Harden's missed 20 straight three-pointers. Yikes. How about that scenario in Game 7? Bad for the books. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati over 8.5 up to 9. 5-4 final, and the Angels, $1.10 up to 135. Beat Toronto 8-1, 16-5 on the road for the Angels.
Yeah, best in the league. I mean, the Blue Jays finished that 7-game homestand 1-6. They're outscored 43-22 by Oakland and LA. This is a Toronto team that overachieved early. They've certainly come back to earth. And you talk about the Pirates getting smacked around yesterday and all that over money. They're betting against Nova. I mean, Nova in May, 0-4 with a 7.60 ERA. In 5 May starts. Not convinced he's going to be a whole lot better when June rolls around.
Orioles $1.30 up to 150, beat the White Sox on the road. A's $1.10 up to 130. They beat Seattle. King Felix gave up 4 runs in the first. His first inning ERA is 12. And the A's playing good ball and a good home team. And the Royals plus 125 went off the favorite, $1.20 at Texas. They won 8-2. Only the second win for the Royals when Duffy starts.
Yeah, they're few and far between. Although, if you've been fading Duffy game after game after game, all right, yeah, you're not going to win every one of them. You're reasonable to give one back in that one. But let's talk King Felix, and let's talk the will they, won't they score in the first inning prop that I know a lot of folks out there like to bet.
Oh.
You talked about the 4 runs he gave up in the first yesterday. 12.27 ERA in the first inning for Seattle. 4.11 ERA after the first. Not like he's been great, but the first inning struggles for King Felix. You're betting that will they, won't score? Will they, won't they score in the first inning prop? When King Felix is in, you might want to bet the yes on that one. It's been fairly profitable so far this season.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Monday was games of the week 1 lines. Here's games of the year at the South Point. Sunday, they have win totals for every college team. Guy who runs the book, Chris Andrews, said he had Texas underrated. He was too high on Notre Dame. Remember the week 1 line, they had Notre Dame a 7-point home favorite at Michigan. Michigan's now the favorite on week 1. He also said he was too high on underrated, on Oregon and Stanford, and might be the case with a couple other teams, but they were betting Texas nonstop, Teddy. How about the game against Oklahoma that opened 12 and now it's 6.5, 6?
Yeah, and again, I apologize for not graphicing these up. It's not easy to get a good picture of all the games of the year on one sheet that you guys can read it. Obviously, you can find these numbers online. You can find them right here at sportsbookreview.com. Certainly widely posted and widely available because nobody else in Vegas has done it yet. We give the South Point all kinds of credit for being first to market with so many of these college football numbers. And you talked about the hot teams, Texas Longhorns. You talked about the Oklahoma game where they opened a 12-point dog. Now they're only a 6-point dog. The game against USC, they opened as dogs. Now they're -3 in that game. Chris Andrews, quote, I'd call that a pretty big move. I must have had Texas, Stanford, and Oregon underrated every game involving those teams. Drew action. One more quote from Chris Andrews. And it's worth noting when you talk about these very first line moves, all right, where this is the brain trust from the South Point putting up numbers. And these are the real wise guys, the guys that are making their living betting college football, coming after these numbers. Chris Andrews, quote, with college football, you have some very dedicated clientele. They really like to get in and crunch numbers, and some of these guys do pretty damn well. I definitely have a lot of respect for the guys who played early money, worth paying attention to. And as you mentioned, Pauly, even with $1,000 betting limits, not going nuts on these openers, $1,000 a pop, more than $100,000 in college football action this week. And the win totals are going to attract as much attention as anything. That I would anticipate enormous.
Alabama opened 7 against Auburn, Ohio State 9 against Michigan, Notre Dame opened a 1-point favorite at USC, November 24th. Oregon and several of these games, Oregon with Herbert. Herbert's a terrific quarterback, and they averaged a ton of points before he got injured. They were bet up from 1-3 at Washington State, and at home against Washington opened 10. That was bet down to 7 and some other marquee games. And a lot of people high on West Virginia. But they took money against Tennessee. They opened a 3-point dog at Texas Tech. They're now favored as they get Greer back. Ohio State also bet up from 6 to 8.5 at Michigan State. Some good matchups there. And Oregon also took money from 9 up to 13 at home against Arizona State. So a lot of great matchups they put up there and some intriguing. How about week 2? Boise goes to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State. Week 2, Boise goes to Oklahoma State. Houston plays Texas Tech. LSU plays Auburn, and the USC-Texas game. Ohio State also plays TCU in Arlington. Some great games the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the funnest things about college football and looking at these games of the year lines is that you get to look forward to all of these great games. You're like, oh, it's what we got in week 1. It's what we got in week 2. Oh, look at this November matchup. That's the beauty of college football. An NFL weekend, you might get 3 or 4 marquee matchups. College football, not unusual to have games you want to watch from 9 in the morning till pretty close to midnight, just about every Saturday. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.